Hi everyone, and welcome back to another demo of the UK Electrical Simulator. In this video we're going to look at a very useful feature called room zones. This is handy for two reasons. First, it allows you to separate groups of components based on different rooms within a domestic property. And second, it makes it much easier to move components and their connected wiring around the workspace without losing the overall structure of the circuit. Before we look at room zones, it's worth showing one limitation within the simulator, and that is moving components after wires have been connected. Let's add a ceiling rose and a one-way switch and wire them up from the C5 bus. If we drag just one component on its own, the wires will stay connected to the terminals, but the wire routes can sometimes become awkward and reroute in a way that makes the layout harder to follow. One option is to select a group of components by holding down the Control key, then left-clicking and dragging a box over the required group. The highlighted components can then be dragged around the workspace together. Clicking on an empty area will then remove the selected group. That works well, but there is a much easier and more organized way to do it, and that is where room zones become really useful. A room zone can be placed around any group of components and given a name. Once that zone is in place, you can move the whole zone around the workspace, and all of the components and routed wires will move together. For example, let's add a zone and call it Bedroom, Circuit 5. When we drag the zone, the three components inside it, along with their connected wires, move together as one group. Let's now make that zone a little larger and add a few more components, such as another one-way switch, a junction box, and a fan isolator. Next, we'll add a second zone and call it Ensuite Bathroom. Inside this zone, we'll place an extractor fan, a shaver socket, and 4 LED spotlights. Now, when we zoom out and move the main room zone around the workspace, the full layout stays together without losing the wiring structure. This makes it much easier to organize larger installations and keep the design clear and easy to understand. It also gives you a much better visual idea of which components belong to which room. In this example, we can clearly see what is part of the bedroom and what belongs to the ensuite bathroom. To save a bit of time, I'm now going to open a previously wired example so we can see what a finished layout looks like and allow us to see the extractor fan working, including its timed run-on feature after the bathroom lights are switched off. Let's energize C5 on the bus and switch on the animation. Turn on the first one-way switch and you'll see the bedroom light come on. Now turn on the fan isolator and then switch on the second one-way switch. You'll see the 4 LED spotlights in the bathroom turn on and the extractor fan begin to run. If we now press one of the buttons on the shaver socket, this simulates plugging in a shaver. We can now see current flowing to all of the components throughout the circuit. When we switch the bathroom lights off, the extractor fan does not stop straight away. Instead, you'll see it begin its countdown timer from 10, and once that reaches 0, the fan will stop. If the lights are switched back on again before the timer finishes, the fan starts running again as normal. If we release the button on the shaver socket, we can also see the current flow to that accessory stop. And if we switch the bathroom lights back on, the lights re-energize and the extractor fan starts again. We can also isolate both the fan and the shaver socket by switching off the fan isolator switch. I hope you enjoyed this demo showing how room zones can be used, while also giving us the chance to look at a few more components that we haven't covered in detail yet. We will be creating full in-depth training videos on how these components work and how they are wired as part of the training content inside the simulator. Please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below. I'd really love to hear your thoughts, especially if you think this kind of tool would help support your training journey towards becoming a UK electrician.